welcome back to Nails Before Films. Since Inside Out 2 just came out, I decided to review Inside Out first. I actually watched Inside Out in the theater back in 2015 with my sister and some friends, and we all loved it. It's your typical Pixar movie that both kids and adults can enjoy. The message behind the film is simple for children to understand, but thought-provoking for adults. I cried when I watched Inside Out in 2015, and as much as I despise Disney nowadays, I cry when I rewatch the movie for this video. I'll go over why I like Inside Out in a bit, but I'm going to nitpick a little first. For the most part, Inside Out does a good job of showing how our brains work in a clever, fun, creative way that even children can understand. However, there are some parts that make me raise my eyebrow. For example, the abstract thought sequence, I think that's mostly for laughs and to have a small obstacle for our main characters to overcome. I don't think children understand what the heck is happening. They probably just think, haha, they look weird. I don't even think adults understand how abstract thoughts work, so that part isn't all that clever in my opinion. Another example would be Joy creating a bunch of imaginary boyfriends to get back to headquarters. It's funny, but doesn't make sense if you think about it. So is Riley really thinking about a bunch of imaginary boyfriends at that moment? I mean, it's technically in her head. How does that work? The fundamental concept of this movie doesn't really make sense if you think too much about it. First of all, Inside Out makes it seem like humans are controlled by emotions. The ones making the decisions in her head are the 5 emotions. But I don't think that's how human brains work. What about things like logic? Humans make decisions based on logic as well. It's not always emotions. Sometimes we do think out of habit as well. We don't really feel anything when we do it. For example, we don't brush our teeth every day because it makes us feel anything. It's just something we gotta do. How does that work then? Also, how does Joy, an emotion, have emotions of her own? She got sad when she fell into the forgotten memory abyss with Bing Bong. How can that happen? Does Joy have a brain too? Does she have emotions in her brain too? Does those emotions have their own emotions too? See, the movie doesn't make a lot of sense if you think too much about it. However, I consider myself to be nitpicking because Inside Out is still a kids' movie, so I don't expect it to be scientifically accurate. As long as these issues don't affect the overall viewing experience and there's no drawing plot hole, I think it's fine. I just want to point out the film may not be as clever as it seems, but it's definitely smarter than movies like Minions. Besides the issues I just mentioned, Inside Out is a pretty clever kids movie. If you look closely, you'll notice that a lot of the things happening in Riley's mind through the action of her emotions can also be explained in a realistic way. For example, in the film, it seems like joy and sadness, along with the core memories, got lost by accident. However, in reality, Riley is possibly suppressing her happy core memories because thinking about them makes her sad, which is why they disappeared. Joy and sadness getting sucked out of the headquarters is because Riley can't bring herself to be happy, but she doesn't allow herself to be sad either. Another example would be anger being the most prominent emotion when joy and sadness aren't around. When we suppress our feelings or when we're confused, we tend to get angry easily. So it makes sense that anger becomes the one in control when joy and sadness are absent. And when Riley decides to run away, the one who puts the idea in is anger. In reality, Riley probably decides to run away because she's angry at her parents, which is why anger is the one who comes up with that idea. When you link the things happening in real life with what's happening on with the emotions, you'll realize that they really put a lot of thought into the script. While the story may not be airtight and some things may not make sense, I think they successfully managed to convert what's going on in real life to the drama within Riley's head. Next, let's talk about the animation and design. I like how colorful and playful everything is. Since Riley is a kid, it makes sense that her mind is so vibrant and a bit childish. I absolutely love the design of the brain. Things like the dream production and train of thought are really creative and fun. But where Inside Out shines the most is definitely the heartfelt story. Inside Out is about an 11-year-old girl going through the change of moving from Minnesota to San Francisco. It's nothing complicated, but that's why it's so relatable. For kids, the message of Inside Out is that it's okay to be sad and it's important to communicate our feelings to the ones we love. Riley's parents never mean to pressure her to be happy, but Riley interprets that as she can't be sad. By forcing herself not to be sad, she can't be happy either. Once she tells her parents how sad she is able to be happy again. I think this is a very important lesson for kids to teach them that it's okay to have negative feelings. But perhaps the message of Inside Out hits harder for adults. As we grow up, many of our fond, joyous memories will become sad. Maybe it's the memories we have with relatives or friends who are no longer with us, or memories of our distant youth. It's difficult when happy memories turn bitter, but sometimes that's necessary, and we can only be happy if we accept that. Lastly, let's talk about what made me cry both when I first watched Inside Out and when I rewatched it, which is, of course, the death of Bing Bong. I actually didn't like Bing Bong at first. He was so stupid to the point that it wasn't cute anymore. And I thought he was one of those dumb, quote-unquote cute, mascot type Disney characters. You know, like Olaf. But I cried so hard when Bing Bong sacrificed himself to help Joy get back to Riley. As annoying as he was at first, it's understandable that he still loves Riley and wants nothing more than to be remembered by her again. However, he willingly gives himself up and becomes forgotten so that he can save the person he loves the most. You might say, Olaf risks melting when he tries to save Anna. Why don't you like him? For me, Olaf is so dumb that I don't think he knows he's sacrificing himself. Besides, Olaf doesn't die in the end. However, Bing Bong makes the conscious decision to be forgotten to save Riley. He knows what he's doing and he's really gone in the end. I find it particularly sad because the death of Bing Bong is what we all go through in real life. As we grow up, we often need to sacrifice our innocence and imagination. But the movie doesn't necessarily portray this as a bad thing. It's just something we need to go through to mature. That's basically my thoughts on Inside Out. Because of how bright, colorful, and simple the movie is, kids can certainly enjoy it. But at the same time, adults will surely find the message behind the film thought-provoking. This is the greatest strength of Pixar. Many of their movies look like they're for kids, and the concepts seem childish too. For example, Toy Story is a story about living talking toys. The idea can't get more childish than that. But they managed to turn it into a gripping story that even adults can enjoy. And Inside Out is just like that. However, I'm not really sure about the idea of a sequel. I think it'd be interesting to see Riley in puberty because that's when our feelings really start to get complicated. But I'm not sure about their approach. From the trailers, it seems like the new emotions are all negative in nature, and I think some of the emotions are a bit redundant. For example, doesn't anxiety technically stem from fear? How does that work? Besides, Pixar's track record isn't that great in recent years. For those who watched my Elemental review, link in the description, you'd know that I thought Elemental was just okay. I think Inside Out 2 would be fine, but it probably won't be as good as the first one. But I don't know, I'm always open to being pleasantly surprised. Hope you guys like my review and nails. This is the first time I tried to do glitter nails and it was super fun. Anger looks a bit different because I didn't have red glitter. I used the sugaring technique and I'm happy with the texture glitter look on joy, sadness, disgust, and fear. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, like, subscribe, comment, share, do what you want. Keep nailing it and eat broccolis, people. It's not that disgusting.